Hi everyone, it's your book coach Liisa Kovala here. Grab a cup of coffee and settle in for a discussion about all things writerly. I'm the author of Sister's Winter War and Surviving Studhof, my father's memories behind the death cave, and I'm an author accelerator, certified fiction, and memoir book coach. As a Finnish Canadian, I also love my coffee. In this podcast, we'll take a coffee break together to chat with authors, publishers, book coaches, marketers, agents, publicists, booksellers, and many others. Welcome to Women Writing. So happy you could join us for a coffee and a chat. In today's episode, I'm having a coffee break with Josee Smith. She's an indie author and book coach for working moms who want to finish the novel of their dreams. She achieved her childhood dream of finishing a novel and publishing it in 2021, and now she supports other writers with the same dream. As a new mom with a busy job, she understands the challenge of managing it all, and she also believes strongly that writing and creativity can help women feel like themselves again after the chaos of motherhood. She lives in the San Francisco Bay Area with her husband, young son, anxious dog, and semi-feral cat. Hi, Josee. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I have wanted to chat with you for so long, and we tried to arrange it last year and couldn't quite get our schedules aligned. So I'm really glad you could do this now. Really appreciate it. Um, so you are a fellow author accelerator book coach. So what brought you to wanting to go to that program initially? Do you remember?
Yeah, so I have been a writer. So it was inspired by me writing and publishing books and wanting to help other people do it. So I've been a writer my whole life. And then in 2020, but I'd never finished anything. And then in 2020, like really buckled down and it was like, I'm going to figure out how to like actually finish a book. And I decided to self-publish it. So I went through that whole journey, ended up publishing 6 books in that series. We can talk about that. But
Yeah.
I remember during the process of that first book, going into the second book, the experience of finishing it and like bringing that like childhood dream to life really made me think like, oh, hey, this is amazing for me. I want to help other people do it. Like what could that look like? At that time, 2020, 2021, I was kind of just focused on my own books, but I always had in the back of my head, like, hey, this is a great experience for myself. Like, I wonder how I could help other people do it. And
Yeah.
then I remember at some point in like 2022, 2023, hearing about Jenny Nash. I think she'd always kind of been sort of in the air, her
Yeah.
name had been like
100%.
floating around.
Yeah.
And I finally committed to going through the program in 2023 because I was like, oh, this seems like a great way to get some support, kind of build up the editorial skills. Like I am a writer. I know how to write kind of in my own process, but it's very much like an intuitive sort of hodgepodge of a process where, I'm kind of like, how do I write books? And so going through a program where I had more structure and also the community aspect of it as well. Those are really important things to me. And just kind of getting some of that practice and yeah, just kind of going through that whole process was really valuable and just kind of giving me the confidence, giving me the structure, the community. And yeah, really helping me be like, oh, hey, this is something that I figured out and I want to go help other people, figure out how to
Yeah.
do this thing too.
100%. What about like were you writing like since you were a kid? Like when did you start writing?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, when did it start? I've always loved reading, and so it kind of naturally like I would read a book and be like, oh, I want to write
Yeah.
this thing. I want to write a version of this. I want to write my own kind of spin on this. So I remember going back to like elementary school, writing like little things in notebooks. Again, never quite finishing anything. But yeah, going back, as far as I can remember, writing has always been something that I have done. It carried into high school. I discovered NaNoWriMo in high
Oh yeah.
school. And so did that kind of high school and college to an extent, a little bit after college. Yeah, it's just writing has always been, but it's always gone along with reading. Like I've
Right.
always been inspired to write because of the things that I read
Yeah.
and like wanting to put my own spin on it, wanting to, kind of do my variation of things. So those two things have always been tied together for me.
I love that. So sort of like fan fiction where you have that world is created and now you do a spin-off or you focus on the character or you
Yeah,
create another
yeah,
storyline. Yeah, it's
yeah,
a really popular thing.
definitely explicitly fan fiction, like in high school,
Yes.
Harry Potter fan fiction to be
Yes.
exact. But then also just like the genre too
Yeah.
has been a big like way that I've sort of like gone off and done my own variations. So I write cozy mystery, and that's like murder mystery is a genre that I love so much, and so that
Yeah.
was also a lot of the like things that I have written in the past and have written now of like this type of story. But yeah, it's always been, inspired by the things that I consume, wanting to go off and do kind of my
Yeah.
version of that thing.
I mean, but what a great way to learn about writing by looking at other
Hmm.
people's stories and expanding on that, like those worlds or those characters. I think it's like such a valuable thing. Like it's often that writers are readers first, but to like that whole idea of building fan fiction around those stories, I think it's so valuable. Like you said, well, I didn't really finish anything, but you were writing, right? Like you
Hmm.
were like it
Hmm.
was that practice, that it was that developing your skill set, working on storylines. I mean, I think it's such a valuable thing. So when did you finally, you mentioned that you finally went, okay, I'm going to finish a story. When did that first one happen?
Yeah, so that was in 2020, and it was very much like, the 2020 was the way that it was. The
Yeah.
world was just, it was kind of like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I'd been doing research probably like 2019 into different publishing paths because I was kind of like, okay, let's maybe see if I can make this happen. Um, but still was sort of not like fully committed to it. And then when 2020 rolled around, we were just stuck at home. I didn't have a son at that time. And so, we had free time because my husband and I weren't like going out. We were just working
Yeah.
all the time. I was like,
All the
I
time.
need to be doing something else besides, just this work and like watching Netflix.
Right.
And I really love the first draft process. So I'd been editing something previous to all of this. But I was like, I need to do something joyful. I want to get back into the
Yeah.
joy. So I started a first draft in April 2020, started like outlining it and was like, I'm going to try to make this happen. I'm going to like try to figure out, how can I actually finish this and get it out to the world. I worked on it for a year. It came out. I published it April 2021 of the next year, and just like really committed to it. Dealt with all of the like doubt and worries and that inner voice that like tries to keep
Yes.
us stuck, but was just like I don't know, something just I think it was that time of all of our
Right.
lives where I was like, I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I want to be able to say that I finished something and I had that time and space to really focus on it. And it all kind of came together for me. And then once I got that first one, once I kind of got over that major hump of like the doubt and
Yeah.
figuring out like, okay, how do I take this? Because I've always been, the first draft has always gone relatively smoothly for me, just like getting the story out.
Yes.
But then the editing process is always the big hurdle. And so once I really just like buckled down and figured out, okay, how do I make this at least a little more readable, a little better for like where I'd feel comfortable having someone else take a look at it.
Yeah.
Once I got past that big hurdle, then it was just like, okay, I'm just going to I've like proven to myself that I can do this part that has been so hard. I'm going to keep going. And then it just kept writing, started the next one and the next one, and the next one, just kind of kept going over the next
Amazing.
couple of years.
Amazing. I'm thinking about that COVID time and how I think so many people um, either rekindled some kind of um, artistic uh, practice that maybe they'd left behind or started writing, or like in my case, I made a lot of finished coffee bread for a while, and then I started crocheting. And I mean, I was writing too, but I felt like I was trying to find things to like occupy your brain and be
Mhm,
creative.
mhm.
And it was such an unstable time period. But I love that you went, okay, I'm writing the book. Like this is gonna happen.
Mhm.
I love that so much. And what was that, a cozy mystery then? The that
Yeah.
first book,
Mhm.
and the rest, was it a series or are they
Mhm.
standalone?
Yeah, a series of six cozy mystery novels. So that also I think helped me keep going with it because I had, kind of characters that I'd gotten to know in the first book that I really liked. And it was just kind of like, again, just playing in a sandbox that I love. Like I love that genre. I love the, sort of like a cute cozy town. I know also that you are
Yeah,
writing cozy
I
mysteries,
know.
so we
I'm
can talk
just
about
soaking
that. We
up
can talk about
everything
the
you're saying
genre.
right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
because I didn't know this that is what
Yeah.
genre you're working in, and I'm like just like dipping my feet in, and it's so fun.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So I think it just like that really helped the motivation of
Yeah.
continuing with it. Because yeah, it's just like working in this genre that I love with these characters that I loved and just like, yeah, getting to kind of going back to that like fan fiction motivation or being motivated by what I'm reading. I like made this first book with these characters that I loved. And now it just became like, all right, what I want to do next with them.
Yeah.
The cozy mystery genre also allows for that kind of, each book can be sort of its own thing. It doesn't necessarily have like, they are in a sense kind of standalone. You can jump in
Yes.
at any point, though there's obviously like some overarching storylines as well. But yeah, it really just became like, me getting to play with these characters and put them into different situations, have different books like focus on different characters and different like jobs. And yeah, it was just like so
Love
fun
it.
to get to explore that. And I feel like that genre made it easy for me to kind of keep going because I didn't have to have like, if I wanted to write like a fantasy series, I feel like I'd have to hold the whole series in my head, and that probably would have been like very overwhelming
Yeah.
versus doing something where I could kind of pop in, come up with like 65,000 words of like something that, can work for this particular book in the series, and then just move on to the next one in
Yeah,
the next book.
100%. Well, and I also think the cozy mystery lends itself to that time period, but also the time period we're in now. Like, I just feel like we just need some lightness.
Hmm.
Like, if you turn on the
Hmm.
news, you may not,
Yeah.
like, you're not necessarily gonna feel upbeat, but the cozy mystery just feels like a lovely thing to write for me, but also reading is just it's just a lightness and a sweetness and a little bit of humor and fun characters and small towns and things.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I love it.
definitely.
What is the name of your series if people want to
Yeah, so
check
it's
it out?
the Hemlock Inn Mysteries. I write under a pen name, Josephine Smith. But yeah, books are on Amazon. You can find them. There's six.
Amazing.
I love them so much.
Yeah, I love that so much too. So then moved towards book coaching. And like I know that at Author Accelerator, they talk to us a lot about developing a niche. Like, so it's like we're not like every coach isn't necessarily serving everyone, that we're trying to narrow in. And I found that kind of extremely hard at the beginning to think about, well, what is my niche? Did you come across your niche because it's particularly amazing right away, or is that something you came to?
Yeah, so it did kind of develop, but also sort of happened like naturally as I was going through the certification program because I started that in 2023 when I was pregnant with my son. And I didn't so my focus is on like helping moms. That's what I'm so motivated to do now. When I was going through the program, I didn't have that kind of like, sense because I wasn't a mom at that point. I was just pregnant and
Yeah.
I didn't have this sense of kind of what I wanted to focus on. And then I ended up like passing the certification. I mentioned this before we started recording. I passed it and got like that notification like same day that my son was born. It's kind of a whirlwind. And then
Love
I
it.
did nothing with it for like, the first couple of months because I had a baby that I was taking care
Well,
of.
yeah, a little busy.
Yeah, a little busy. But then kind of a similar thing happened, I think, that happened in 2020 in that I was able to be home with him for a few months for my day job and just could focus completely on him. And, me and my husband, we got into a flow over the first like, couple of weeks, couple of months where I was like, okay, we sort of know what we're doing. And then I reached a point where, yeah, in the first like 1 or 2 months where I was like, okay, we've got a handle on him. He's a good sleeper. So he was like napping. And I just like had some open space in my day, not a ton, of course, but like he would nap and then I wasn't having to work. So like, there was time and space. And I was just sort of like, what do I want to do with myself here? I very much felt like a sort of, I was getting into the mom role and figuring that out. I wasn't having to work. And I was just kind of like, what else do I do with
Yeah.
myself? I sort of felt like I didn't have like a sense of what was important to me. And luckily, I had built up from 2020 a journaling practice, like a daily, like morning pages. I went through that, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And so I had this journaling practice, and I was like, I feel a little out of sorts. I feel like I don't quite know, what to do with myself. So I'm just going to sit down and kind of write out what's going on with me, how I'm feeling, what's coming up. And I wrote out a list of like, okay, what are some things that I can do when he's napping, when I don't have to take care of him? And literally on the list was like, write my book. Like I had to like remind
I love
myself
it.
that was along with like, read a book, watch TV,
Right?
all of these things that I just like had forgotten that I could do because I
Yes.
was so focused on trying to keep him alive.
Yes.
And so once I had that realization, I was like, oh, I still love to write. Like I've now have kind of taken on this mom identity,
Yeah.
but the writer identity is still a part of me. It's still important to me. And so I got back into my writing, pretty soon after he was born, like within like the first 2 months, I started writing again. And it just became so important for me to still feel like I had that part of me that, had been before I had my son, that was so critical for me. Going back to my childhood, like that part of me was so important. And it was really, it really helped me to maintain that writer identity through the ups and downs of
Yeah.
babyhood, newborn stage,
Yeah.
toddlerhood. My son is about to be 2. It's been amazing to have that like thing that is just mine that I really get to focus on.
Yeah.
And so having that experience for myself of just like, oh hey, this is like a part of me that I still want to nourish and take care of and allow, space and time.
Yeah.
I realized and saw in a lot of other moms out in the world how much we're told like all of our time and attention should be on our kids. We should pour everything into our kids. Like they are the most important thing when we become moms. I mean, I was like, well, I also really like books. That's
Yeah.
still important to me. And I think there are a
100%.
lot of women out there who have that same experience of maybe they've gone their kids' whole life sacrificing everything for them and then are sort of like, okay, what do I do with myself once they, leave the
Yeah.
home? Or moms with young kids who are like, I, love my baby so much, but I can only do so much for them. There's,
Yes.
kind of all these ups and downs. I need something for myself. And
Yeah.
so it, yeah, kind of naturally developed where I figured out how to balance that mom and writer identity. And I'm now really motivated in helping other women figure out how to do that for themselves. And I think it's such an important question for moms, women, people of all types, but moms especially, of like, what does it look like to prioritize yourself? And why is it not a bad thing to
Right.
prioritize yourself? Like, what does it actually teach our kids? How does it help you show up better as a mom? Like, why does this matter so much? And really kind of delivering that message and being able to work with women who are struggling to find that balance. But then once they like make that decision to prioritize what they love, all the amazing things that can come out of that. So yeah, it's the niche like developed over time through my own kind of personal
Yeah.
experience. And it's something that I think is just so important for us all to
Oh,
think about of like, why does it matter to prioritize that
yeah.
writer side?
No, it's amazing. And I love that you came to it fairly early on as a mom because I think a lot of moms struggle for quite a while because they are so focused on baby that they don't take care of themselves in the same way. And then it's you're depleted. But if you do the things you love, it could be writing, it could be reading, it could be dancing, it could be whatever, singing, instruments, I don't know, something creative that fills you up and you have more energy and
Mm-hmm.
ability to take
Mm-hmm.
care of other people. But I think we think we're exhausted. We're so tired. We don't have time, whatever. And I like what you said about like kind of societal expectations about moms are, I don't know, sacrificing themselves almost like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's not, that's doesn't work, right? Like we do need to fill our own well to support other people. And I just love that you came to that pretty early on, but I wonder if that's maybe a um offshoot of the fact that you've been a writer your whole life. So it's just innate in you that like that was your outlet and you kind of knew that that was something you wanted to get back to. I love that you had it on a checklist though. Write a book. Laundry, groceries, write a book.
Yeah. Yeah,
As
I
one
do
does.
think it, yeah, came from that, it being such a core part of my identity for
Yeah.
so long that it just kind of naturally like popped into my head. But yeah, and I have found that like over time, like, in college, it was the thing that I did on the side along
Yes.
with, being in college.
Yeah.
It's the thing that I've done on the side of having a job. And so it just kind of naturally became the thing that I did the side
Yeah.
on the side of being a mom.
Yeah.
And I am very grateful that it was something that I discovered so early because I think, yeah, I talk to a lot of women who have like 2 or 3 year olds and they're just like, I feel like I've been drowning. I'm kind of now
Yes.
maybe coming out of it
Yeah.
and I'm having to really think about what is important to me.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I have been able to figure out, how to make it work for me now
Yeah.
as my son grows, as he gets older, and just, the that experience of him seeing like what does it look like for his mom to go after her dreams.
Yes.
Right now, he's 2, so he doesn't really fully comprehend what's happening, but I know that it's something that's going to be really valuable for him as he gets older too.
Oh, I totally agree. My kids are at the other end. They're like I'm empty nester now, 22 and a 25-year-olds.
Mm.
And I think that you're absolutely right that when kids see their parents pursuing their dreams and being creative and taking time for themselves, they recognize it in themselves that they also can take that time and need that time and whatever they want to pursue. It's I think it's just like that role model, right? You're
Mhm.
showing them how to value themselves. And I have 2 very creative kids who uh, do a lot of those kinds of activities. And I'm not going to say it's because of me, but I think it helps that they saw us as parents pursuing writing or music or whatever we're doing. So I love that, at 2, he just knows you're a writer. Like he
Mhm.
knows, he sees it. It's great, right? So
Yeah.
awesome. And I read an article that you wrote a piece. I'm not sure if it was on Substack, but maybe on your website, how I found myself through writing after motherhood. That's like was so great. And I think that will resonate with tons of people. Um, so some moms will come to it because they were writers before, like you, and some might like. I think I have this secret thought that everyone wants to write a book. Like there just seems like everyone has a story, and I think we all do have stories, and maybe more than one. And some of us write them, and some of us don't, or some of us dream that we will do it someday. But you're really opening a door for moms to say, it is possible, and this is something you can do. Um, what do you think some of the benefits for moms writing, they have their children, they're busy, they might be working, they might be doing other things, but they have this dream of writing. What do you think is some of the benefits for them?
Yeah. I think just often there has been that like lifelong dream. It's been something like I talked to a lot of women who are like, I've wanted to do this since I was a kid. And I know for me that was the case. And seeing that dream come to life, I think that is like such a major benefit, such an amazing experience to go through of like this was something that has been on my heart for so long that maybe I was told either explicitly or, subtly like, oh, this writing a book, it's not really a thing that happens. It's not realistic. It's not, whatever. Actually being able to accomplish that, I think is just such an amazing experience of like proving to yourself what you're capable of. Um, I think also, as we've talked about, like modeling for your kids what it looks like to go after your dreams. I think that's something, we verbalize all the time. We like tell our kids, we like ask them what they want, but then it's
Right.
like, what are we doing to actually go after our dreams and show them what that looks like? I think that modeling can go so much further than just like saying the words and like, trying to convince them what they should do. So I think there's a lot of benefit in that of just like how your kids, the environment that your kid grows up in. I absolutely think that your kids are creative because you are creative. I feel like creative kids always have creative parents, like that just sort of naturally happens. So I do think that has made a big difference for them. And then I think also a benefit is just like having something that is yours that has its own ups and downs, but not the ups and downs of like all of these external factors, right? So like my son can have a tantrum and my day job can be really busy, but I have space and time to focus on my writing, even if it's not very much time, because as moms, there's
Yes.
only so much time that I can like devote to it. But it's something that is totally mine that I get to focus on completely. And it doesn't matter what other chaos is happening around me because I have that time that's carved out for me. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, for the mom who's like, oh, I don't have the time to write, I think even 5 minutes of working on something that is just for you, that can totally make a difference. That can shift your day completely. And I think that is really that sort of like day to day, on a regular basis kind of benefit of having this writing practice. It's just like having that thing that is so important to you that doesn't, it's not dealing with a toddler who doesn't want his diaper changed or
Yeah.
work that, is like really busy. It's something that's completely yours. It's going to have its ups and downs as well. But I think it's just so powerful to really have something that
Yeah.
you love that you get to focus on.
100%. It just reminds me of when I had my daughter and I was living in a small town in Ontario. My husband was working, and I didn't really know anybody in that town. Like I was kind of felt a little bit isolated away from family. And I remember the first time leaving the house in the evening to go to a yoga class. Like it was the first time. And I remember like being in Shavasana and just the tears just
Mhm.
went down my face. But like there was something in that moment, like, oh yeah, I'm also a person. Like I'm also a
Mhm.
complete human
Mhm.
being and I can leave the house. And like it was just like this very emotional kind of moment. And I'll never forget that because, like, I mean, the last thing I thought it was I was going to go to yoga and cry,
Yeah.
but there I was. But it's, so necessary that we have even some moments for ourselves and immerse ourselves in something else, even if that's just quiet moments that
Mhm.
we can, center. Um, so I remember when I was working full time and had the kids, and and was trying to write, like how challenging it was to find the spaces and the times in the day to do it. What did you come up with? How did you manage so far?
Yeah. Yeah, I have found that I really had to just lower my expectations on myself and treat myself gently as well. Like lower
Yeah.
the expectations, make it easy to show up and write. Like yeah, there's so many things, our kids need so much from us, our work needs so much from us. It's then hard to say to ourselves, all right, well, I'm going to try to figure out how to write for an hour each
Right.
day. That's because I've heard that like, if you're not
Right.
writing every day, if you're not writing for, an hour to really sink into the work, then what's the point of writing? We're like putting all this pressure on that creative side of us. And so I really had to just make it as easy as possible and give myself like as much grace through the process. So that literally looked like 5 minutes of writing that like became enough for me.
Yeah.
And of course, it's like that feels like nothing. Like, what are you doing? What's the point of doing that? But it's like the alternative is to either not write
Yeah.
or to try to do that hour of writing, not be able to do it, and then get frustrated when I
Right.
can't do it. So like, of course, 5 minutes is like better than those
Yeah.
two other options. And I found that over time, that time that I was able to commit to the writing has grown as well. It's
Mhm.
shifted. It's looked like different things. I reached a point where 20 minutes of writing every weekday was like my sweet spot, and I did
Yeah.
that for a really, really long time. It's again shifted in the last few months, just kind of naturally through like how my other things going on in life have
Right.
shifted and the time commitment has changed. But I think just reminding myself that the writing is important and my routine doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It's not going to look like anyone else's. It doesn't have to look like how it looked before I had my son. It just needs to be something where I'm showing up for my work on a regular
Yeah.
basis and I'm like giving myself grace when things don't go exactly to
Yeah.
plan, when things kind of go in a different direction. I recently wrote on Substack about an experience of intending to write, but then my son being sick and having to stay home from daycare, and the writing kind of going out the window. And in the past, I would have gotten really frustrated with that. I would have felt like, it was kind of a waste of a day, like,
Yeah.
maybe even feeling frustrated with him because he was sick, because I had to like be a
Yeah.
mom and take care of him.
Right.
And of course, holding my sick baby, I was like, this is fine. This is a perfectly fine way to spend my
Yeah.
day.
Of
And then
course.
I also let it be okay that I had to miss that day of writing. I didn't get frustrated about the writing or feel like, what can I even do? Like there's a lot of like catastrophizing we can do when our
Yeah.
routine gets knocked off course. And instead I just like let it be okay and, try it again the next time that, I had writing on my schedule. So I think that flexibility is also really
Yeah.
important of just like taking kind of honestly like the long view of writing. It's not just about like, okay, I have to get to writing this day. And if I don't, something's going to go wrong. It's like, nope, I have many days to write. It's my routine
Right.
definitely is slower than it used to be. So I know that I'm going to have many days of writing before I finish this thing. And one missed day is just the way that it is. Like that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
I can try again the next day. And so believing and like understanding that the writing adds up over time, even if it's not like a perfectly consistent
Yeah.
schedule, that's also really helped me kind of have that flexibility and be able to figure out, okay, how do I still prioritize the writing when the mom stuff gets really busy? Some days, like, if my husband takes our son out for like the day or the weekend or whatever, that's
Yeah.
great time to write. That's a great way to fill up that open space. And so just yeah, being flexible with that balance and making it easy for myself to get into the writing has been really important.
Yeah, I think that's so amazing. I feel like so many of us have heard that advice of write every day or write, this many words a day or for this amount of time. And I've never not
Mhm.
not even now that my kids are out of the house, I still am not that person. And I do totally believe that it's important for people to find their own path and rhythm, and it changes by the season. Like it will
Mhm.
change when your son's older, it will change again. Like it just and I love the idea of just being really forgiving to yourself about when you might have had that on your list for Saturday, but it doesn't happen, and just be like okay with it instead of, feeling like we failed in some way.
Mhm.
I think that will resonate with lots of folks, but particularly moms, because there's a lot of responsibility there. And like you say, when your child's sick, you have to just pivot and,
Mhm.
focus on that. And that means some of the other things that you wanted to do are going to shift as well. I don't know, it's a complicated time when you're a mom. Like all the stages too. I think not just the little ones, but it's challenging. Um, what about your book coaching clients who are moms? Um, what have they shared with you? Anything about what's working for them or something that surprised you or
Mm. I think just like making that commitment to their work, like making the decision to even invest in coaching, work with a coach and say like this is important to me, I think is a very transformative moment for them because it's not just this hobby, it's not just this thing that they're like kind of doing in the pockets of their day, even if that's the reality of, how it actually happens, but it's something that they have said, this is important to me, I'm going to prioritize it. I think that's also the biggest like hurdle that they that they have to take is having that realization. And I see my job, as kind of reminding them of why this is so important, why it matters for them to have this, space for themselves. Um, but yeah, I think there's just something really powerful about that kind of one-to-one like space that you can make for someone where we're really just going to focus on your writing and what's most important here. And I think that's something that can be, we kind of have this idea of like a lone writer writing sort of naturally, we think like just happens at our computer. And it's kind of this like newer idea of creating a community around you that's really going to support you in your writing. And so I see, yeah, my job is very much helping these moms to believe that their writing matters and should be prioritized, and then creating that space where they feel safe enough to, bring all of the things that come up to talk it through, to, really kind of take care of their story and see it develop. I think it's a shift that has to happen for someone to really kind of make that progress and commit to their story. But just that belief that it matters, it's worth prioritizing, I think is it's something that really comes out in all of my conversations with my clients, with potential clients. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I imagine the some of those conversations might turn towards the challenges of parenting while trying to be creative and meeting deadlines and all the things. Do you find that as you're working with clients, they're shifting priorities, like perhaps you have certain deadlines for them and certain outcomes that are kind of submissions they're supposed to submit, I don't know, biweekly or whatever it is, your schedule. um, do you think that there's some changes in what they're submitting based on the their circumstances in life?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think summertime is a time when
Yeah,
things get
yeah,
more chaotic in the home life, and so the writing kind of, has to take a little bit of a back seat. I think I always make sure to like acknowledge the reality of, kind of what's going on in their life and make it okay that things are, not exactly going to plan. So I also work with writers over the course of a year, and I find that that longer time frame really gives us, a lot of time to have that flexibility in like, okay, this is a season where maybe we're not doing as much writing, maybe we're thinking more about the writing, we're just like chatting during our sessions.
yeah,
I've also like written with writers during our sessions, so if they weren't able to get any writing done in the past week, that's fine, we can like write for 20 minutes during our, hour long session and get some words done.
yeah,
So yeah, I definitely think it's so important for me to offer that flexibility and just like acknowledge the reality of what it is to try to write while being
yeah,
a parent, and the fact that they're like, that's my own personal experience. There's so many ups and downs in like the amount of time I can actually commit to my work.
yeah.
And so I make sure to offer that flexibility, and have had people kind of say like, oh, I wish I could have done more of this, or I like feel bad that I didn't, meet this deadline or whatever. And I'm like, it happens. We've got so much time together. Like we will figure out how to make progress. And I think, yeah, taking that long view of, you don't have to do everything perfectly every single week, week over week. You can have some months where things are a little slower, some months where you've got a ton of extra time and you can get a lot more done. I think that, yeah, flexibility just kind of naturally has to come in
Yeah.
with the people that I work with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so great to have somebody to talk to you about your work, who understands it, and then to talk to a mother who's going through it. This,
Mhm.
like I mean, you can just, I mean, I think back now, like, I wish you were my book coach when I was 25 years ago. Because that's exactly what you need, right? I mean, I always tell the story. I talk to my husband about the stories I'm writing all the time, and he nods and sounds
Mhm.
great, but like not that helpful. But to have somebody that gets it and understands the ebb and flow of the day and the week and how the seasons can affect like with your kids at home or at school
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
working and all the many things we have to deal with. Um, what are you working on now in terms of your own writing?
Yeah, I am working on a cozy mystery, a new series different from what I had published previously. And it's actually a series that I started writing before my son was born. I think I yeah, so I'm editing book two in that series. Book one was like written, I think edited by my editor and almost ready to go before he was born.
Yeah.
And then I started on book two. I'm because I self-published, I wanted to kind of publish them somewhat close together. So I was sort of like, I'm gonna, try to get through the first couple of books before starting the publishing process. Which I think is still a fine like way to go, but it's meant that everything has been really delayed because
Right.
when I got pregnant, when I had him, my writing just kind of like really had to pause. And I've kind of finally come back around to the second book. I've been working on these edits. Editing is my least favorite part of the process, so it's taking a lot of time and energy. And it's just been interesting to see like how my writing has changed since becoming a mom and just like having a lot of distance from like I something I've been working on now is actually going back to that first book and rereading it and like getting a sense of those characters to then make sure that it's consistent in the second book. And there's just, yeah, I don't know, like there's an 8-year-old in the series that when I wrote it, back in 2022, when was the last time I talked to an 8-year-old at that point? I don't really know, but now, but now that I'm like, just thinking about kids more, I feel like
Yeah.
that character is one that's gonna have to kind of shift and change.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also like, yeah, it's just been interesting to have this series that I have been working on for like 3 years at this point, and just the ways that I have changed in that time, and also can't fully articulate the ways that things are different, but I just know like I don't know, I've read more books in that time, so maybe that's kind
Sure.
of part of it. Yeah, I don't know. So it's
Yeah.
been an interesting journey to kind of see how things have shifted in the series that I had just been working on
Yeah.
before and how like kind of the direction that I want to take it in now. And it's yeah, I like I'm really focused now on like, okay, let's figure out how to make this fit in my life. Let's figure out how to get these books out into the world and just kind of see that process through. But it's interesting to like balance all of that with this being a mom.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I forgot what I have a little blank. This is my brain fog moment. But anyways, I was just thinking about the cozy mysteries and it being a series and publishing. Are you planning to have all your books ready to go before you publish the first one, or are you going to put that like how will you decide how to
Yeah,
put them out?
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It's very much something that like I keep changing my
Change your
answer
mind.
because now I'm like going back through the first one and kind of like I think I want to make some changes to this one. I
Right.
have to like make a decision to
Yeah.
stop the editing process at some point and
Yes.
just like allow it to be okay and start publishing them because I want to get it out to readers. I want to, share it with the world. I will probably I think because I've written a good chunk of the second book, like that one's actually getting close to being able to go off to my developmental editor. I'd originally thought I want to have like the first three kind of ready to go or close to being ready to go and then publish. I'm thinking now maybe like, and all of this is because I have readers who I know love to read books and want to read as many as they can. And so
Yes.
I want to have multiple books ready for them to be able to read. But I'm also thinking for myself personally, what would feel best is getting a book out into the world because
Right.
it's been a few years since I've published. And so yeah, I'm kind of thinking like, get the first one into good shape, put that out. Second one will be close, but maybe not quite totally ready to go.
Right.
Let that be okay. Get it out, when it feels right.
Yeah.
And then I do want to get into the third book fairly soon, just because the second one has been one that's been ongoing for a long time, and I'm just kind of ready to like
For
move on to
sure.
something
Let's
new.
go. Yeah.
So yeah, the intent is to have a couple like to at least be able to say to my readers like there's going to be more in this series. but also like at a certain point, I just, want to get it out into the world and like let it be, good enough, like knowing that
Yes.
there's no such thing as a perfect book, like just
100%.
letting it be ready when it's ready.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I was thinking, oh, I know what I was thinking about in my brain fog moment was I think Author Accelerator, the program, for me anyway, as a writer, I started to see my writing differently. I
Mm,
started to see story differently. And so I think that was a big shift for me. And, I'm also working on a book right now, apart from the Cozy Mysteries, that is a historical fiction that I wrote, I don't know, I think 2018, 2019, in those years. And I've done a lot of revision and changes and developmental editing and all that stuff. But I think Author Accelerator's approach to story changed how I saw that story, and really did
mm,
affect how I edited it. And now writing, I think, yeah, I think our writing naturally evolves too. Like you said, when you're reading more and you're writing more, and we're older and we have more life experience and all of the things, shift and change. But it's fun to go back to those early pieces and go, oh, I think I would do that differently now. It's fine.
yeah. Yeah.
But that's a sign of growth, right? It's great that we can
Mm,
actually look at our work and be able to say, oh yeah, and the fact that your first book in this series hasn't been published yet, and you still have time to go, okay, yeah, now I see what I want to do with that character, or now I want to change it up a little bit. Like I mean, it's fun. It's interesting that you don't love the editing process. You like the first draft process. That's your sweet
mhm,
spot.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm more of an editing person. Like the first draft I find hard to get on the page, and then I love to
Mm.
play. So it's just interesting that different writers have a different process, or have a different spot in the process that they love,
Yeah.
and really can sink their teeth into. Some people just love to research, and I think, okay, you can't research forever. You got to move on. Someday you have
Yeah.
to write the book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's always so interesting to me because I'm like, the first draft is just full of play because who knows where it can go. And then at
Right.
the end of it, you have to like get it all together and like,
Yeah.
make it better. You've got this kind of sort of like very
Yeah.
messy kind of, discovery experience. And then you have to like unravel everything. I
Yeah.
will say too, like one of the benefits of Author Accelerator is that I feel like it's helped me in the editing process of
Yes.
giving me like just more of a system to follow.
Yeah.
I think I like because I was able to write those books previously, like I had a process for my editing. It was very much like pulling my hair out kind of a process.
Yes.
And now I am at least like, okay, I can follow a little bit more. Like I've been able to like articulate the process more and like systematize it more. And so that has made it easier, but it's still, yeah, it's still an evolving, like I don't know if I'll ever fully love editing.
Right. Would you call yourself a plotter or a pantser then? In
Yeah,
that same.
so that's something that's evolved over time as well. I would say more of a pantser these days. I prefer discovery writer
Okay. I
for
like
a
that
phrasing.
term. Yes.
Yeah, but I always like it's never fully like I always have kind of an idea of what I'm going to write because of the genre, because I know what genre I'm writing. And so I know that I'm going to have naturally sort of different like beats, different, like with a mystery, there's going to be suspects, there's going to be, different clues that are discovered at different times. And so but I also find that I like can't know too much about it because then I sort of feel like I've already figured out all of the
Right.
answers. I think that might be why I have trouble with the editing process is because it's like, well, I've already gone over this, so
Right.
many times. Like I know it's no longer, surprise to me.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I definitely feel like I'm more of a pantser where I can't know too much about what I'm writing. And then that first round of edits is like, oh, okay, I guess I do have to actually figure out what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to do here. I have to like answer some of these questions and like figure out why
Yeah.
characters are doing certain things. But yeah, I just love that experience of like, yeah, I don't know where's the story
Yeah.
gonna go? Let's find out.
Yeah. 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 I love that. Um, where can folks find you online?
Yeah, I am on Instagram at Josee Smith Book Coach, and that's Josie spelled Josee. I'm also active on Substack at the Writing and Motherhood Substack, or my website, Josie Smith Book Coach, and again, Josee.com.
Perfect. Oh, it's such a delight to chat with you. I'm
Yeah,
glad we
this was
finally were
fun.
able to make it happen. And Yeah, I love what you're doing. And I love that you have this amazing community and niche to help moms write the book of their dreams. It's great. It's such a great thing that you're supporting people, really, really important things that they're doing. And in those really challenging years, especially as moms. So keep doing it. And I love
Yeah.
your Substack, by the way. I follow you. So love to see you over there. But I really appreciate the time you took today. Thanks so much, Josee.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was great.
My pleasure. Are you interested in pursuing your book writing dreams? Join me for my next group book coaching session starting on October 19th and running for 8 weeks. This session is ideal for individuals who have an idea for a novel or a memoir and need guidance to get started, or who have a draft and need a solid plan for revision. You will receive weekly group book coaching sessions and individual feedback every week on your submissions, weekly goal setting, and a supportive community of women writing. Hop on over to lisakovalabookcoach.com for more information, or email me at lisabookcoach@gmail.com to register. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to have a coffee break with us at Women Writing. Don't forget to subscribe to Women Writing on Substack. If you like this episode, share it with someone who needs a writing break and a little inspiration. Happy writing! Thank you to Michael Jensen for his original music and editing, and to Mia Jensen for the logo design.